It's crazy when I say it out loud, 4 years of my life. Psychologically, it has caused the most damaging, it has been the most damaging thing ever. It really has changed every aspect of my life. And I could sit here and talk about it, but I can't even bring to words how it's completely changed. At the beginning, it started off as sort of cyber-stalking. So it would be online mostly. So the individual, I never knew him. I never knew his name. I never knew what he looked like. It started on, well, the stalking didn't start on Twitter, but if you'd like to say that that's where we kind of met or crossed paths, engaging on social media. And then he started to reply to a lot of my tweets. And I noticed it was very bizarre because he always wanted to get sort of a dispute going. It was always in contradiction to what I had to say on my social media. And then I remember one time, I was in a university lecture and I looked at my phone and there was like 50 notifications from this one individual, and he literally just replied to one of my tweets just 50 times, just one after the other. And then he disappeared. And then I remember about 6 months later, he requested to follow me on Instagram, again with the same initial, no picture, filtered into another box. And he said something along the lines of, I'm not sure if you remember me, but I used to follow you on Instagram and I was really inspired by your tweets. And I kind of just shot a message back saying, thank you, really appreciate that, or something along those lines. And then it sort of turned into, as soon as I sent that message, it turned into, I really like you, I want to be with you, can we meet, and that kind of sort of stuff. So that's when it turned a little bit weird again for me. And I said, okay, funny, but no. And as soon as I think I said no to him, that was like a trigger gone off in his system or in his life. And it turned tenfold up and it was like, well, why can't you be with me? Why don't you like me? Why can't this happen? I'm in love with you, like I will do anything for you, and that kind of stuff. So the messages continued, and I think it was that same day that I blocked what I presume to be his official account. And after that, he started making fake accounts on Instagram, and primarily he would use Instagram to contact me. So he started I would block one account, 20 seconds later there would be a new account, and I remember blocking hundreds of accounts in a week. And that went on for months, and then it sort of turned at some point from just, I love you, I want to be with you, to quite sexual comments on there. So he would post vulgar pictures and he would say, I want to do this to you, I want to, that kind of sort of details. And that's when I got quite concerned because I thought, this is not a normal human being, there's clearly something not right here. And my friend actually urged me to contact the police. I was a bit apprehensive about it because I didn't know him, I didn't have a picture, I didn't have a name. So she kind of was like, you have to do something about this. So I contacted the South Wales Police and we went through months and months of just gaining data from these accounts, these fake accounts, and just what he was saying and the threats and anything that was there. He somehow gained access to my account and he would message every single person I followed or every single person that followed me. He put up a picture of me and his caption was my address, and my friend obviously saw that. I was just about to finish work on a Saturday, got into my car and FaceTime from my friend, and she usually doesn't call me at that time of the day, so she says, don't freak out, but he's got your address. And obviously your world starts coming crashing down. I was like, okay. Then a couple of months later, again, timeline is very sketchy. I came home from work and I remember just coming in through the door and right in front of in my hallway, there was a box of roses, and I don't know why I knew, but I just knew. And in my head, I was absolutely numb. I thought, it can't be. And even before I opened the box, I said to my brother, I said, it's him. And he said, what? He said, who? Like, again, jokingly. And I ripped the box open. I just absolutely demolished the box. And I was looking for a card. I was looking for anything, something. And it was 100 roses, 100 red roses. And red roses are my favourite. No longer are they my favourite. And I got to this card and it was a paragraph on the card, and I just went to the bottom of it and it was the initial Z. And obviously my heart sunk. I was just like, I can't even explain how I felt in that moment. But it started, whatever he was planning, it even though it was halfway through, it just begun. But obviously that was a turning point in the whole thing, because there was a background of where they'd come from and all his details and everything, and that was exactly what we needed. And then coming to that, obviously it takes time to get information, to get card information, but for me it was, he's done this, he could do absolutely anything else, and just every day from then was just terror for me. And then a couple of days later there was another parcel from him, and he would put his name, and again initial Z, but a different surname he would use, and there was a telephone number on there, which again the police took evidence of. I think the second gift was a perfume bottle a couple of days later, and they were coming daily. Just to come, the next day there was 2 very expensive bags. A week or so later I was just absolutely exhausted by it all. I was exhausted of the tears, and this is why now I try to explain to people, like when I'm talking about it, I feel not as much emotion as I did back then, because he is absolutely exhausted every bit of emotion that I ever had. I used to be a fun, bubbly person, and I would still say that I am, but he's taken half of me as a person out of who I used to be. He gained access to my dad's phone number, and he would text him every single minute of every day, 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. He would be texting my father, he would be calling my father from different numbers, from different SIM cards. Then he sent a letter to my father, a written letter about how he wanted to ask for my hand in marriage, how he wanted to pursue me, and he wasn't going to stop. And my dad knew who it was from. He doesn't get written letters ever. So he didn't open it, he took it to the police. And they opened it there, and they said there's enough information in this letter to say that he's not going to stop. 48 hours later, the 2 officers had gone from Swansea to London. They'd pinpointed exactly where he was, who he was, and they'd arrested him and brought him back to Swansea to be tried. There was a restraining order in place against myself. I thought that's the end of it. You know, he's had his wake-up call, that's it. Like, he knows it's serious at this point. The officers had said when they went to arrest him, he had no idea I would have even contacted the police, which is very bizarre, because you think you can torture someone for 3 years and not have them do anything about it. And then I thought that was the end of it. I think we all sort of thought that was the end of it. And then he came out of prison. He was put back on a train to London, and then 48 hours later he was at 10:30 in the night, he was knocking on my door, and my dad opened the door, and at 10:30 in the night he's asking to speak to my brother, and my dad was like, this is a bit strange, you know, if one of your friends come, you tell me, or they don't come at this late in the night. So my mum called my brother down. My dad at this point was thinking, yeah, it's him. They called the police, and the police turned up pretty quickly. And again, he was taken into prison, and a restraining order was put in place against myself, my father, my brother. It was May the 16th at 3 o'clock in the morning, and it was Ramadan. So I was up in the night, and I remember I was sitting downstairs by myself, and I'd gone back onto social media during this phase. I had a new account, I had fresh everything really, a new email address. My account name was not something that you could affiliate with myself. It didn't have my name on it. And then I had a request notification from a name that he'd used before. So he would generically make fake accounts of the same kind of names. And as soon as it popped up, I thought, what? I thought May 2021 is what I was told he was out of prison. And then I noticed that there was a direct message. So he'd messaged, there was 9 messages from him. As soon as I saw the name, I was like, it's him. And it was about, he'd messaged just before 3 o'clock, and I only saw them about 3:30. And then again, without even thinking about it, I called the police. From that day to until he was caught on the Tuesday, I believe it was, there was a police officer at my home address every single day. There was 2. They were checking everywhere. There was a helicopter above my house, and I was at this point, like I said, I was absolutely numb to it all. I was exhausted by his behaviour, by everything that had gone on, and it was just find him. That's all, just before he does anything else. Like I said, the only time I ever knew his name was when they arrested him, when the two officers went down to London after the gifts were being sent. So I didn't know what he looked like, and I didn't know his name. For the 4 years of my life, and even now, I try to figure out at what point did this turn into what it was. What did I do to do that? And I've only just got to terms with I didn't do anything. There was at no point did I make him seem like I had any feelings for him. And it was just trying to intimidate me and to threaten me. And again, anyone that he saw me engaging in conversations with, he would just attack them. Like, why are you talking to her? It was isolating me from the world. And it was, I couldn't do anything normal. Like, I had no freedom. It took my whole freedom away. So after he pleaded not guilty to the last offence, it went to Crown Court. So I had to appear as a witness on the stand. And due to COVID, they weren't able to put a screen. And for me, I think at this point, my voice hadn't been heard in the other court cases. Apart from speaking to police officers, I don't feel as though the court found my side of the story and how it affected me. So I wanted to go into the courtroom. I wanted to engage with the jury and to the judge and the prosecution and just give my side of the story. It was probably the most hardest decision that I've had to make, walking into a room and having him sitting at the back of the courtroom. And I tried not to look at him, but again, he was just in my eye zone. I wasn't able to. And that was the first ever time that I saw him and he saw me in the flesh, and also seeing him on the stand. And I think to any witnesses that are going to go out there, I think if I've got anything from this is I've gained some power back by standing up there and telling them my story and essentially having them find him guilty and believe my side of the story. But it was the hardest thing in the world, having to see him up there and just make up lies after lies after lies, and they were just rolling off his tongue like it was just, a story that he was telling. And I would just say, don't be disheartened by it, because you know the truth. And I will look back on it, and even now I look back on it and I'm so grateful to the South Wales Police and to the prosecution for pushing me to go and do it, because again, like I said, that's taken some of my power back. And I think one of the most important things to get from this is that the mental health aspect of it. At some points, more than one point, I thought about, harming myself, because that was the only way that I thought that it could stop. I thought if I disappeared, then it would stop. My family wouldn't have to go through this. My friends wouldn't have to go through this. I was okay dealing with it, but I don't feel like it's fair on anyone else to take that burden upon themselves as well. But thankfully, I had the best support network and the best police officers and the best friends and best family. And I don't feel like a lot of people have that out there. And I think it's so important for people to feel, like they're important. But he completely ruined my life, and to say that is absolutely understatement. I feel like he is going to be, and he is in the background of absolutely everything I do, and it's not fair on me, because I did absolutely nothing to deserve it. And just because a person thought one day, let me just, it's not doing anything, may as well just torture this human being for the rest of my life. It will not go away if you don't do something about it. And it's not your fault that someone has decided to do this, whether you're in a relationship with them, whether they know you, whether you studied with them, whether you work with them. It's still harassment, it's still stalking, it's still behaviour that should not go unmissed. And I think for me, one of the most motivational things was, if I don't do this, it will happen again, not just to me, to someone else, and there will be consequences. Someone's going to lose a life. Not just by being hurt by the person, by doing something to themselves. And nobody deserves that. Nobody deserves to have their life taken away from them because someone else is not happy with their own. And every person, to be fair to the South Wales Police, every person that I spoke to was they just listened. They listened to what I had to say, and they made me feel as though reporting it was 100% the right thing to do. And I think, again, that's really important.